we are well in districts and things have been flying and going on, we brought on our man in the streets.
Had no fear, Professor Peck is here, aka Cool Daddy Fresh with his Kango there. I see you there, young fella. Man, you talked about on Twitter yesterday that you was all these soccer games you had to hit. How were those soccer games last night?
They were good. We're in winter go home time, and 11th Region Soccer is no joke. 43rd District Soccer is no joke. I'm going to the 42nd tonight, to where Frederick Douglass boys are ranked number 2 in the state. They're facing an elimination game. Henry Clay had an ineligible player for half the year, and they had to forfeit a bunch of games. They just had a kid who was 19, and they didn't realize it, and so he had to. Once they figured out when they did a grade check on him, they realized his birth year was off, and it was like, well, that's not right, and then they had to report it. So Henry Clay, has a records 4-12, and I mean, this is the state champion 2 years ago and state finalist 3 years ago. I mean, Henry Clay is Henry Clay, whatever their record is. So, Douglas is going to have to go through them in a winner go home match tonight at Great Crossing High School. And then I got girls tonight too, with Douglas playing Sayre. And Sayre has upset the Douglas girls each of the last 2 years. Douglas has been, heavily favored, and Sayre has pulled off the upset. We'll see if the Spartans can do that again tonight. But yeah, I've got winter go home soccer games all week. We got the 43rd District Championships tomorrow, and then we got the 42nd District Championships on Thursday. So tonight is a big one because it's winter go home for both Douglas teams.
Now, volleyball still in full swing too. Shout out to my niece, Miana Russell. They will be playing at Lexington Catholic tonight, East Jasmine. Her Lexington Catholic is the truth. This is Tuesday night. I know Catholic is the truth over there. I mean, LCA is the truth over there in girls volleyball, correct? My understanding?
You're wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, we got a chance then.
Lexington Catholic is a good team. They're maybe too much for East Jessamine. If you're talking about Lexington Catholic, against LCA, I think East Jessamine, that would be a good game. The class of the field is Dunbar in girls volleyball in the 11th region this year, and then it goes to Frederick Douglass. Those two teams played to 5 sets earlier in the season. They're almost certainly going to meet each other probably in the 11th region tournament, which is coming up in about 3 or 4 weeks. So we're not quite to district volleyball playoff time yet, but that time's coming faster than I want it to.
All right. Now we're in the football season. We got the districts going on. I think one of the bigger surprises was the Madison Central taking not just a beating, but I mean just a thrashing from Pikeville. What's going on with Madison Central, Jared?
Well, Pikeville's really good. Pikeville's not normal. That's not a normal Class A team. That game was only 21-19 last year. I think Madison Central won it, and maybe we're starting to figure out what they could do last year. I mean, Madison Central doesn't seem to be the same team without Brady Hensley. They just don't. I mean, he's got a 100-yard game since then. Hagan Harrison's been playing his butt off. I mean, they do well. But, I mean, against Pikeville, a Pikeville team that has that offensive line, Pikeville had 200-yard rushers. And, Blake Birchfield didn't score and still had a 100-yard rushing game. But they didn't need him to score. They had everybody else on the team scoring. I mean, Pikeville can really play defense. And if you're got some weaknesses, Pikeville can expose you no matter what class you're in. So looks great for Pikeville. They get a 6A win. It doesn't look so great for Madison Central. I mean, the trouble that Madison Central has had over the last few weeks means that, that district is pretty exciting and really up in the air. We thought that Madison Central would carry over that momentum from last year, where they really took control against Bryan Station in the district playoffs and showed them what was what. And now, Bryan Station has taken its lumps. It's back to 500. They have to face Clark County this week and see if Clark County's for real. They've got to do that in Winchester. So that's going to tell us a lot this week. But I wouldn't, beginning of the season, I would have told you Madison Central was probably the favorite for that district. And now it could be Madison Central, it could be Clark County, it could be Bryan Station. We're going to find out in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be exciting.
Man, speaking of teams having a little lumps here, two teams I'm interested in. One is LCA. I know there were a lot of injuries. It's Cutter Boulder. I know he's back, and Cutter's back. Can they right this season? I know their district is kind of down still. With Somerset, who were there by somebody's saying they're ranked number 10 in 2A, and then they still have Danville. So, what do you think of LCA's chances going out?
I like LCA's chances to win out through the regular season. I mean, they're still a really good team. Not being able to stop the run is a problem, though. They've got to figure out what's going on there with their inability to stop the run. I mean, Pikeville ran roughshod over them. Washington County found success against them. They are too much offensively for most teams, but the teams that can defend and the teams that are in coin flip games, they're going to come November, they're going to start grinding it out. And if you can't stop the run in November, you're not going to play in November for very much longer. So that issue is coming up. I think that they're looking at maybe some transfer help coming on as the playoffs start. But they really have to figure out what's going on in that defensive line and the linebackers to stop the run. Because if they don't stop the run, it's going to be over fairly quickly. Now, the new playoff system mitigates that some, I think, because, maybe they get, depending on what path they take, it could be okay. But if they're now looking at having to go either to Mayfield or to Beechwood to get to Kroger, if they take care of business in their district levels. So, and we can't discount Danville, even though Danville's had some rough times. That Danville team under Coach Mark Peach has threatened to beat LCA. They almost beat LCA a couple, maybe last year or a year before, but it was closer than LCA wanted it to be. But Bowley's going to throw for 350 yards a game. That's going to happen as long as he's upright. He's throwing for 350 with the receivers they have, but they got to stop being in these shootouts. And up and down and up and down and up and down. That defense has got to lock down at some point.
Man, one more, and I'm going to let Coach Truck finish up. Great crossing. I just knew this was the year. These last 2 years, like, come on, man. I know Coach McKee's one of the best coaches ever to coach high school football ever. But I just knew this was going to be the year. Last year, I just knew this year was going to be the year. What is going on, man? I cover my great cross Warhawks. Can't beat the old dog in town.
Well, I think last year was the year. I probably should have beat them twice last year, but couldn't convert in the end zone. I mean, look, you can't discount Scott County and Jim McKee. They run what they do, and there are no surprises really. I mean, he's throwing it more now, I guess, because he's got a sophomore quarterback instead of a freshman quarterback. But Scott County really defends. Now, you look at him against Frederick Douglass, and Frederick Douglass is frankly silly. Frederick Douglass is a 6A team playing in 5A, and Frederick Douglass is a monster. And things just haven't gone their way in the state championship games. And that's fine. But, I mean, they're playing – that's a monster 6A school playing in 5A. And so everybody's like, what's wrong with Scott County? What's wrong with Scott County? Well, you wait till next year when Douglas is in 6A, and if Scott County's still in 5A, ain't nothing going to be wrong with Scott County. Scott County's going to be right up there. So in the thick of it, and especially with the experience they've got coming back. Now, I don't see Great Crossing a whole lot. They were really good last year, but I mean, they've got to be able to get over that hump. Maybe that happens when they stop sharing facilities. But kids in Scott County have a choice about where to go. I don't know. I mean, the new school is nice, but Scott County's going to have a new school here pretty soon too, in a couple of years. It's going to look a lot like the Great Crossing School. So, I think as long as Jim McKee wants to coach, Scott County's going to be really good and going to be really hard to beat.
Thank you, Jared. Thank you for that. great insight. Now this week we got a lot of the great district matchups. We've got Bryan Station GRC this week. We've got Boyle and Lexington Catholic big game this week. We got Pikeville and Sayre.
I like Sayre a lot, but I don't like Sayre against Pikeville. I like Sayre against a lot of teams, but not against Pikeville.
Now, most of these games have kind of been, the bully, has went. Boyle has always kind of beaten Lexington Catholic, no matter
for the
what
last decade. Yeah, it wasn't always that way, but yeah, for the last decade or so, it has been.
Yeah, it's been that way. Bryan Station has kind of been, beating GRC. This may be the week for that. This may be the year for that to change. Do you see any of these changing? Do you see any of the, underdogs challenging the perennial winners of these games?
Well, I'm not sure who's the perennial winner is the Bryan Station and Clark County. They were both wandering. They were both adrift for quite a while under previous administrations. So I'm not sure, maybe, Bryan Station got the better of that a little bit, but, Dr. Oliver Lucas was coached both of those teams in their history. So that's just odd. So, I think that's really a coin flip game. It's been nice to see what Joe Chirico has done at Clark County, and Tyleek Maxwell is obviously an extreme talent at QB. Do they have enough pieces? Bryan Station has a lot of highly regarded pieces of the puzzle, and the only reason they have 3 losses is they took on the number 2, number 3, and number 16 team in the state. And that's a hard road to go. All on the road, by the way. Those weren't home games. Or they had to play Douglas. Yeah, Douglas was on the road. So, that was just a tough road. And, I talked to Coach Hawkins after their win last week. He feels like that's made them better. He's been able to evaluate his folks. He had, Devon Frazier, 6'2", 220 linebacker at running back breaking a 70-yard run last week. If they can do that, if they can put 6'2", 220 at running back and get him through the line, I don't know anybody wants to tackle that dude. But yeah, we're going to find out a lot about the Bryan Station Clark County dynamic this week. It's going to be interesting. Clark County's loss to Campbell County is a concern because Campbell County hasn't really beaten anybody, but Clark County is the notch on their belt. So what happened there? I don't really know what was going on there. But that's, motivation for this week to prove, are they for real? Is Clark County for real? We're going to find out. And then for the Bull County Lexington Catholic game, Bull County's got all the cards. They got all the prestige now. I mean, Lexington Catholic used to be there. Lexington Catholic used to be a pretty tough out for people. And they won a state championship, and they were a bully for a few years. And they are a bully to most other teams that they play, except for Boyle County. Even in the times when they were losing to LCA those last 3 years, LexCath has had a good team the last 3 years. They haven't had a bad team. They had Bo Allen.
Yeah.
Jack Goldman was a really good high school quarterback. They were good. They almost, they played Boyle County tough a couple of those years. So can LexCath get over that hump? Do they have enough belief and enough personnel to beat Boyle County? Because Boyle County has just reloaded. Sage Dawson at quarterback has been dynamic. Avery Bodner has been a 100-yard runner, and then Tommy Quisenberry, just a sophomore coming from Garrett County. I don't know if you've seen much of him, but that dude is lightning quick, and has instincts that you just cannot believe. He is a special player. He's a tiny little dude, but he has been special this year in the kicking game and defense, offense. He's a difference maker, and if LexCath doesn't figure out where he is on the field at any moment, they'll find out where he is pretty soon because he's going to be dancing in the end zone.
All right. Well, where you going to be this Friday, Jared?
We're going to beat Lexington Boyle County.
Okay. All right, man. Well, thanks again, Coach Blue. You got anything else for Jared before we let him go?
Hey, my guy, we appreciate you always bless us. Go Defenders, go.
All right, Jared. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
Jared.